BenBen was known as the saddest cat on the internet. BenBen wasn't always famous. In fact, his life started in the most unfortunate way possible. He had no home, no family, and no one to love him. BenBen was just another stray cat who ended up in an animal shelter. But his story is not as simple as that. BenBen had been through so much pain that you could see it on his face. His body was covered in scars and his back was badly injured. His spine was crushed, making it hard for him to move properly. BenBen also had a cauliflower ear and deep cuts all over his body, which made everyone believe he'd been attacked by bigger animals. His face had so much loose skin that it gave him a constant look of sadness, and because of this, the shelter staff often called him the saddest cat they had ever seen. Life at the shelter wasn't easy for BenBen. Day after day, he sat in his cage, not moving, eating, or drinking. He seemed to have lost all hope. His eyes, big and round, always looked sad, as if he knew what was going to happen to him. The shelter workers felt sorry for BenBen, but they didn't have the resources to care for him long term. They had other animals to look after, and it was clear that BenBen would need special care, something they couldn't provide. Eventually, the decision was made. BenBen was scheduled to be euthanized. His injuries were too severe, and his chances of being adopted were slim. The shelter workers were heartbroken, but felt they had no choice. BenBen's life had been full of pain, and now it seemed that his time was coming to an end. But then something amazing happened. Just when things seemed hopeless, a woman named Sarah heard about BenBen's story. Sarah loved animals, and when she saw a picture of BenBen on the internet, she couldn't believe how sad he looked. She knew she had to do something, even if it was just to give him a little bit of comfort in his final days. Sarah decided to visit the shelter. When she arrived, Sarah saw BenBen sitting quietly in his cage, not even lifting his head to look at her. He seemed to be in so much pain that it broke her heart. The shelter workers explained that BenBen didn't eat or drink anymore, and that they didn't think he had long to live. They told her he was set to be euthanized in just a few days. But Sarah couldn't accept that. She knew that BenBen deserved more than this. Without hesitation, Sarah told the shelter staff she wanted to take BenBen home. They were surprised, but agreed, warning her that his condition was serious and that he might not survive for long. Sarah didn't care. She was determined to give BenBen a chance, no matter how slim. When Sarah brought BenBen home, she set him up in a cozy corner with soft blankets and a warm bed. She sat next to him, speaking softly and gently petting his head. For the first few hours, BenBen didn't move. He just lay there, his big sad eyes staring off into the distance. But Sarah didn't give up. She kept talking to him, feeding him little bits of food and giving him water. Slowly, very slowly, BenBen started to respond. The first sign of hope came when BenBen finally lifted his head. It was just a small movement, but for Sarah, it was everything. She kept caring for him, and over time, BenBen began to heal. He started to eat again, just a little at first, but enough to make Sarah believe that he wasn't ready to give up. His once dull eyes began to brighten, and his body, though still weak, started to regain some strength. Sarah made sure to take BenBen to the vet, where they did everything they could to help him recover. His spine injury was still severe, and he would never walk perfectly, but the vet was able to make him more comfortable. BenBen's wounds were treated, and he slowly began to heal physically. But more than that, BenBen's heart began to heal too. For the first time in a long time, he felt loved. BenBen's new life was nothing short of a miracle. From the moment he was brought into his forever home, it was clear that his fate had changed. The woman who adopted him, a big-hearted ER vet worker, had made it her mission to give BenBen the love and care he desperately needed. Over the next few weeks, BenBen's progress continued to surprise everyone. Despite the vet's original assessment that he would never walk again, BenBen had other plans. Sarah watched as he began to wobble to his feet. At first, his steps were small and unsteady, but they grew stronger every day. Soon, BenBen wasn't just walking, he was running. His newfound energy was inspiring. It was as if BenBen had decided that his past wouldn't define him. Sarah often found him exploring different corners of the house, leaping onto the furniture and even chasing after toys. Watching BenBen play and explore, Sarah couldn't help but smile. She knew that he had beaten the odds in more ways than one. BenBen, once labeled as a cat too broken to recover, had defied everyone's expectations. He had found his way back to happiness, and it showed in everything he did, from his playful pounces to the way he curled up beside Sarah every night, purring contently. BenBen had become a permanent part of Sarah's home, and his story didn't just end there. Word about his recovery spread quickly online. People from all over the world who had once pitied the sad-looking cat in the shelter now celebrated his transformation. Sarah shared updates and videos of BenBen's playful antics, and his followers couldn't believe how far he had come. What made BenBen's journey so special wasn't just that he had healed physically, but that he had found happiness in a way no one thought possible. His resilience inspired countless others who were going through tough times. People who saw BenBen's story began to believe that no matter how bad things seemed, there was always hope for a better future. Sarah received messages from people who had been touched by BenBen's recovery, thanking her for sharing his story. As for BenBen, he settled into his new life with ease, his days filled with naps in the sun, cuddles with Sarah, and playful moments with his favorite toys. He had truly become a different cat, one who no longer carried the weight of his past. But even as he thrived, BenBen never lost his gentle, grateful nature. He seemed to always remember that he had been given a second chance. Every time he curled up on Sarah's lap or purred softly by her side, it was as though he was saying, "Thank you for saving me." Years passed, and BenBen continued to live happily in his forever home. His story had touched the hearts of many, but to Sarah, BenBen was more than just an internet sensation. He was her loyal companion, a reminder that love could heal even the deepest wounds. Though he would always bear the scars of his past, BenBen had found something far more powerful. He had found love, safety, and a place where he belonged. And in the end, that made all the difference. BenBen's story wasn't just about a cat who overcame the odds. It was about the power of compassion and how a single act of kindness could change a life forever. BenBen's journey from the saddest cat in the shelter to the happiest cat in his forever home was proof that with love, anything was possible. What do you think of BenBen's story? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Until then, take care.